Hey there. So we're here because I got a busted up front bumper, and for 20 bucks in an hour, we are gonna get this fixed. Let's go. Here's the damage. You can see that it's cracked along the diagonal and it is separated along the top. So I went on down to the local hardware store and picked up some epoxy to see if I can fix it myself. So I grabbed this JB Weld plastic bonder. It's supposed to be super strong bond, works on just about anything you can imagine. And so I'm getting it out of the package and reading it. Okie dokie. So first thing I'm doing is I've already washed the truck and then I'm just wiping it off with my fingers to make sure that it's clean and that there's no dust or dirt or debris or anything there. Because like all glue, it's not going to work its best if it's dirty. And then the next thing that I'm doing is I'm just taking an extra minute to figure out how all the pieces fit together so that I know exactly where I'm going to need to put the adhesive and how all the pieces need to seat so that it can be as smooth of a fit as possible. Okay, so I'm taking the cap off of the plastic bonder and then I'm taking the mixing tube and putting it on. There's a little notch you have to line up and then it'll can lock into place. So now I just barely pushed on the plunger and the epoxy is traveling down. So I grabbed one of these mixing tips and it's really handy because I can put it in a really small space and then it just mixes it for you. Otherwise, you have to squirt it out on a little piece of paper and mix it up by hand. So then I was trying to figure out what what it would be like when it came out. So I was just using the back of the packaging to see what I got before I went on the vehicle. And then I'm just going for it. So I did really like this tip. I found it just nice to work with. And so I'm just going along all the places that have separated and applying a thin bead of glue everywhere. Here's a little close-up of using that tip. I was able to get a really nice, precise bead. So when I was using this, I realized that if I could do it over again, I think I would have gone for one with a really quick set time. This one had a set time of 15 minutes, and that was challenging for this particular repair because it wasn't something that I could just put in clamps or put on my kitchen table. There was two different cracks. There's the top separation and then the diagonal one, and they're at different angles and they needed different pressures to put them back together. And so because it was a longer set time, it was really hard for me to try and hold it in place for that long. And even when I ended up using tape to help myself, but even using the tape, because the cracks, like I said, they needed pressure coming from different places to really put it back together fully, I feel like the repair didn't come off quite as good as it could have if there had been only one crack. But I think if it was a slightly shorter set time, it would have been easier to hold it in place and then have it come together a little nicer. So I did sit for several minutes actually trying to just manually hold it with my bare hands, hold it in place. because I was willing to be patient, but it wasn't curing quickly enough for it to just stay, and I realized that I was going to need some help. So I just grabbed some painter's tape that I had. I also went ahead and grabbed gloves. I would recommend wearing gloves from the beginning. I ended up getting some of the epoxy on my nails, on my hands, and that was kind of a pain. So I would just wear gloves from the beginning. And then what I'm trying to do is put the pieces back together the way they're supposed to be, and then carefully tape it in place to just keep that tension so the product can cure and set where it's supposed to. And then I wanted to add a little bit more product because there's a little bit of a gap, and that's when I realized that the product in the tip had already set. So this had been maybe 10 minutes. I didn't time it exactly, but that was kind of frustrating, realizing that it had set inside this plastic tube, but it still wasn't cured on the vehicle, and I'm sitting here trying to deal with this tape. So what I ended up having to do was I took the tip off and I mixed the product on the back of the packaging, and then used a little popsicle stick that was provided to try and apply a little bit more product to fill the gaps. I didn't like using the popsicle stick as much as I liked using the tip, but it did work. And I really just tried to take my time and be pretty meticulous through this process, and just tried to apply product inside all the cracks, fill it up, and then really get it lined up the best that I could do, and then tape it in place. So here's what we're looking like. You can see that I filled it in with product. It was definitely kind of frustrating though, because I had a really hard time trying to tape it as tight as I wanted it to be because of the two different cracks, the crack along the top separation and then the diagonal. I just couldn't get it as tight as I wanted it, and that was really frustrating. I was also just using my nail here to go along that separation and try and wipe away any excess product. Again, just trying to do as neat and tidy of a job as I could. Okay, so here's what it looks like, all super taped up. I went inside and had dinner and let it sit for probably an hour or so, and now we're going to see what it looks like. And I did end up with that epoxy on me. Yeah. So here we go. Didn't turn out half bad. Where there's the top repair. That one I just couldn't get it quite as tight as I wanted, and then the diagonal repair where the tape was, it actually kind of smooshed it out, which was nice because it really filled in the crack. But overall, I'm really pleased with how it turned out. If you're right up next to it, is it perfect? No, but it's 80 or 90% awesome, and it was under 20 bucks. I did it myself, and if you're 3 feet away, you don't notice it, and I think that's a big win. I'm very pleased with it. If you're up close and you're looking for it, yes, you see it. That's the side that is undamaged. And so you can compare it to the side I did the repair on here in just a moment. So here's the side I did the repair on. Again, if you're 3-4 feet out, you don't even see it at all. It just totally blends in. It looks awesome. Like I said, if you're right up next to it and you're looking for it, will you see it? Yeah. But if you're standing at a normal distance, you don't even begin to notice. So I feel really pleased with how it turned out. I would totally do it again. And I hope this encourages some of you guys to do a little repair on your own vehicles. So thanks for watching. Please hit like and subscribe, and happy trails.